PSG were playing Man City. I'm going to go buy a suit. I'm going to try and get myself in with the PSG teams. Next minute, without a word of a lie, I'm sat there. In walks Messi, Mbappe, yeah, like Sergio Ramos was there, like, so all these PSG players walking in. I'm like, from me to you away from Messi, and I've got all these pictures and stuff. My name's Matthew Haywood. I've got a bit of a story to tell, and this is a perfect place to come and tell it. I was on the TV show Survivor, 18 people on a desert island, no bed, no food. We didn't have toothpaste or deodorant, nothing. And I was on that island for 35 days. Yeah, I won that in 2023. And yeah, I won £100,000 at the end. I went from being a student to that in the space of like a few months. Was so mental.
What did you do with money?
Wow. You need to be fulfilled in what you're doing. Life's too short.
Welcome back to Andy's Man Club Brew and Chat podcast. We're now on episode 4. Where's that gone already? I'm joined by a phenomenal guest. I'm going to let him introduce himself in a typical Andy's Man Club way. Name and positive reason for being here.
My name's Matthew Haywood, and I'm here to hopefully spread some positivity and tell my story about who I am and what I've been up to in the past few years. I feel like I've got a bit of a story to tell, and this is a perfect place to come and tell it.
So before we get into your story, how's your week been?
My week's been good. It's been pretty lazy week. I'll admit when it's been a lazy week. I've been on a couple of walks with my granddad up and down the coastline. The weather hasn't been too good though this week, but my football team lost as well. So it's been up and down, but we're here now. I do like a trip to London though, so it's good to be in the big city. I like it.
A couple bits there, I guess. Lazy week, I think it's alright, isn't it? I imagine you also have a lot of busy times, like myself. I think we've got to give ourselves permission at times, haven't we, just a bit of switch off. And a lady I'm great friends with called Sarah Henry sent me a little passage of a book the other day, and it was talking about the magic of doing nothing. And I think, how often do we actually just sit and do nothing?
No, that's a great point. And I think with my life, I'm doing like social media at the minute, and social media is just that highlight reel, so everyone thinks your life's like really busy and you're doing loads, which I am sometimes. But then the lazy days, because I'm not working like a 9 to 5, I have a lot of times where maybe I sleep till 11 a.m. And I'm quite good at doing nothing. Not always in a lazy way, but like doing nothing is sometimes perfect. Like letting yourself just be like recharge, sort yourself out. No, I agree with that, because you can burn yourself out. You happen to a lot of people, and some people feel like they need to be on the go all the time for whatever reason.
And I am guilty of that at times. So like I am like a lot of people. You know, we try to get it across on socials or whatever, but so I'm voluntary CEO of Andy's Man Club, which means everything I do with Andy's Man Club, I'm a volunteer. So I run this organization. Then I also have a business, and I feel like a lot of time I'm juggling loads of balls, hosting this podcast, running the charity, then got an own business. So when I leave here today, I'll have both phones going, different people, going home to be a parent, in a prison tomorrow, 'cause that's what we do for work. And it's just constant. And I think sometimes I'm being like vulnerable myself here, is that I've probably got to get comfortable as well with it. Sometimes it's okay just to have nothing on, but I also thrive in chaos. I don't know what you're like.
Chaos seems to follow me. I think I'm a bit of like Captain Chaos. Everything I do just leads to chaos, but I wouldn't change that, because I, again, thrive in it. And I think that's when I do my best work. But when you say you do the podcast, you go home, you do the prison stuff, everything, do you find it hard to switch off? So you go home to be a dad. So how do you like switch off and become kind of a dad and become like switch off from work? Because I think with my work on like social media, because there's no like clock out time, I tend to always, even in bed at night, my head's always running. Even though I am chilling out physically, mentally sometimes I'm maybe not in the room. Which is annoying probably for the people close to me.
I think when I'm listening to you there, I'm like, got to put structure around it. So in my work, I'll put structure around it. I'm an early morning, so I'll get stuff done in mornings. And then, although last night I were up sending session plans to my Ambler team, but when I'm going home today, I'll some music on tube home from here, I'll get on train, and at that point usually I might catch up on a little bit of work, but then I might just watch something, which I'm not the best at doing. I don't just sit and watch stuff, but just getting that balance. And then hopefully my old man's going to pick me up, so I'll have a good natter with him, and then by the time I get home, everything's out of my system. I've had a phenomenal couple of days down in London. You know, inspiring guests like yourself and having those conversations, and then go and just try and be as present. But I'd be a fraud if I said and pretended that I'm perfect, because I don't get it right all the time. Sometimes it's juggling. Tomorrow I'm going to get up and it's straight back in from being down here and having a bit of freedom, flexibility, to now tomorrow get up, school run, kid lunches, then go down to a prison, and then tomorrow night take my daughter to a run club. It's just there's lots always on the go. But I just think it is just being conscious and putting structure when you go. Just need to take a breath here. Just need to be present.
Yeah, and I think like a lot of my friends work like 9 to 5, and they like switch off at 5 o'clock, and then that's them free. But the thing I've like really been struggling with since I've like started doing social media and stuff, even though it's kind of like my dream situation to be in, is that kind of switching off part, and that maybe I'm at a birthday party of someone in the family and I'm still like thinking of a video idea, or thinking of how I can do this, what could I do tomorrow, because no day has an actual structure to. I should be better at making a structure, like you said, of my work and my day to be able to enjoy things outside of social media in my head. I think it's because I'm working by myself, so it's like
it's that constant staying relevant and putting stuff out.
Yeah, and thinking that potentially in a week's time, and I'm the worst for it, if something maybe doesn't go right for me, I have a positive mindset and everything, but sometimes I am just like, well, I might not have a job in 6 months, I might not be doing this, or I'm really always, it's for the best for me, but sometimes it's maybe not the best for the people around me, and they don't get 100% of me. But it just depends, really. It's a tough one that I'm still navigating through.
And that's the beauty of these questions and these reflections in it, is if you start thinking about how your week's been, and we've both gone down that actually deep reflection of his own life, what we'd love to do at Andy's Man Club is always that when we're on that deep track and we've put ourselves out there a little bit, is to throw a positive in there. So I'm going to ask you a positive. What's been a positive from your week this week?
Well, a positive from my week. I posted a video and it got 4 million views. Wow. It's my second highest view video ever. So I have to think that is a positive to my week, massive, and I've been doing content now for 2 years nearly, I'd say. So to have that this week, that's been really good.
What's the goal of the content? Tell people what's the aim. So
I was on the TV show Survivor, and then I come off the back of that, and I've always wanted to like create and kind of be in the front of the camera and create like adventure, travel, bits and bobs like that. So I've used TikTok mainly. I'm trying to do some more like Instagram stuff, YouTube stuff as well now. And everything from travel, crazy adventure, like I got the world's cheapest sleeping bag and I spent the night at the top of a tree. My most recent travel has been to Jordan in the Middle East. So I spent the night in a cave in Jordan, in the Jordanian desert. I lived with the Bedouin community out there, and literally anything goes on my page. It's so adventurous. It's amazing. It's proper me. It's just a bit of everything.
And for anyone who doesn't know what Survivor is, tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, so in 2023, I was on it. It was a BBC show. 18 people on a desert island. You've got like no bed, no food, nothing, everything from scratch. The thing that I think shocks people the most, we didn't have toothpaste or deodorant, nothing. And I was on that island for 35 days, and yeah, it was mental. And you have to basically vote, like there's 2 tribes and 9 people, and they have to like go into challenges against each other, and then the losing challenge then votes someone off.
Yep.
And then eventually at the end, everyone who's been voted off has to pick a winner, so you have to pitch why you should win. And yeah, I won that in 2023, and honestly, it was just a life-changing experience. It was just...
What did you take from that? Because you said life-changing. What did you take from that experience?
Wow, everything from just self-discovery of who I am, away from my phone, away from my family. When you can't contact anyone at home, and you literally... I was by myself on the island, and you're with... And the power of kind of community as well, like these people, absolute strangers, all walks of life from everywhere in the country, and they're everything to me on this island. And I learned everything, and I won £100,000 at the end, which was for me just... I went from being a student at Manchester Uni, and going from a student with no money to that in the space of like a few months was so mental and overwhelming. I don't think... I'm probably processing it all now more than I ever have.
It'd still be a massive dopamine it, where it's just like gone from kid from Cumbria,
mental,
gone to a big city of Manchester, applied to be in a TV show, and next minute it's just like... Phew.
It was just mad. And I think it's everything I've ever wanted was in that experience, and I cherished it so much. When I was sitting on the beach, I was looking around and I was thinking, do you know when people say like, you'll look back and think these are the good times now. Yeah. I was thinking this is the good times. Yes. In 10 years' time, 5, even now, 2 years later, I'm looking at that and I'm thinking I know how good of an experience it was, and I was so present. I couldn't have been more present. But even now, I wish I could relive it. So even without a phone, when you're in the moment, you still wish you could live like the time passes. Whether it's a good thing or bad thing, the time passes the same. So I wish I could go back and relive it.
I tell you what's interesting that I don't often hear people talk about. What did you do with money?
Well,
no one ever asked that question.
No, they don't. I feel like everyone goes around that question all the time.
And I wonder why, because I feel like if you before you went on it, I bet your parents says, or your family, what are you going to do if you win? And you'd have all these ideas. So in fact, let's just flip the script.
Absolutely.
What did you say you'd do with the money if you won, before you won?
Well, I actually remember sitting in the car with my mum and dad, and we were driving, probably, I'm a Huddersfield Town fan, so we're probably going to football or something, and my dad said to me, Matthew, what happens if you get voted off first? What are you going to do? And I was just this. I was 21. I wasn't going to let anything stop me. And I said, Dad, what happens if I win it all? And then my mum and dad, they're my biggest fans, they back me and everything, but they were a bit like... Even I didn't really think I was going to win. But I said that, and then my mum and dad were like, well, to be fair, yeah. And I was... Yeah, you never really think of the money when you're there until I got to, like, the final 5, and I was thinking... No, like when I first went into it, I was like, oh, final 10 would be good, final 5. You're always looking for that little win every time. And then when I got to the final, I was like, if I don't win this, I'd be good. Yeah. So I got the money, and you don't actually get the money until a month after the final airs. So I won it in August, just say, and then I didn't get the money till the January. So I'm kind of sitting on it and just sitting with this big secret anyway. The fact I won was like a double secret.
Had you spent it in your head before it landed?
In my head, I'm thinking, well, I can do this. Everything was when January comes, you know what I mean? I was like, when January comes, I'm happy, I've got a bit of money. But yeah, my first kind of big spend was just like lots of travel, and I've travelled like lots of countries in Europe, done like a big trip to America like for 3 weeks last year. But yeah, I'm not really like a materialistic person, so I've still got like a lot of it saved, and I just want to use it to kind of, without that kind of money, starting up on social media when I had like no followers, like I've got management now and stuff, so I'm earning through my content. Yep. So like starting off, it gave me that time to sort everything and invest in myself. I bought a camera. And just bits and bobs like that, really.
No, I think what you said, you nailed it, and you spent it mainly on experiences so far. And I think in this day culture, people buy things over experiences. I'm a big believer in experience over things.
Absolutely.
And you've set yourself up with a business, because it is a business, isn't it? And
no, true. And I need to see it as that as well, and I do.
Yeah.
But it's like... Yeah, because it's such a new job. And I'm going into schools recently, talking to like the kids, and going back to like my old school is amazing. And they do a lot with me. They're great.
Yeah.
And like talking to the kids in like assembly and stuff. And they like interview me as well, which is great. And like they all see this as a job. Like I think the people that maybe don't see it as a job are like the older generation.
Older generation, but it will change, hasn't it?
But the kids, they all want to be the TikTokers and YouTubers and that.
And so at Andy's Man Club, we always talk about anything to get off your chest. And what I'd like to know a little bit more is you said something a minute ago, and I'd love to know way more about your story, as would everyone listening. But who are you away from your channel?
Wow, I'm just a go-getter, I think. I'm so passionate about everything. Like even being in this room today, like just sitting in the reception before I come in here, I was looking around.
I could see your excitement walking out, and I feed off that energy. It's amazing.
And these are the rooms that I want to be in. I've always been like really creative, and even away from the content, when I went away to university, like I'll start early. Growing up, we'd sit in the family living room, and I was just this creative. I'd want to be everything. I'd see something on telly, and I'd want to be on X Factor. I'd want to be on Dancing on Ice. I'd want to be on this. I'd want to be on that. I'd want to be a footballer. Literally, from every end of the spectrum, I'd be so passionate about it. And like from my early memories, we'd all be sitting watching X Factor. The break would come, and that'd be my favourite part, and I'd get up, I'd perform, whatever. I'd be juggling. I'm a bit of a knife juggler as well. I taught myself how to juggle knives when I was about 10. So my mates would come round, I'd have the kitchen knives out, I'd be juggling them. I'd be singing.
Don't try that out.
No, please don't. I'd be singing, dancing, acting, literally anything creative. I'd be wanting to do it. But I do think, and I know this, and I'm so aware, I'm quite self-aware, I kind of suppressed that, I think, when I maybe got to about 14, 15, 16, living in like a working class town, and then I'd like joined a rugby team, football team, and being in like them environments, nothing to do with them, just to do with me. it suppressed my creativeness, and I maybe become for a few years what I thought you had to be in a town like mine. In all respect to it, I love where I'm from, but with that, I went to uni and I wanted to be a football manager, and I was telling everyone at sixth form I'm going to be a Premier League manager. So I went away and I'd done football coaching and management, and I was dead set that was going to be my thing. But going away to university, it really made me realise that, like, I actually dropped out of uni to go on Survivor. I took that leap, which worked out, but it was a bit of a big decision.
Big leap of faith, wasn't it?
But I knew that I needed it, and growing up, I was like watching all these like TV shows, like you watch I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here and stuff, and I wanted to be like, I was so passionate about TV, and going to uni I seen it all. I'd done like a TV show pilot in Paris, and they flew me out there, and we like done a pilot for this like hotel TV show, and I'm there and I'm walking through the streets of Paris, and this camera crew like following me about. I'm like, this is where I want to be, and I wasn't in the place I wanted to be when I was at uni. That isn't, and I'm not someone who can fake stuff. I can't fake passion for something. So, and then I done like the pilot for Deal or No Deal as well, when that come back to ITV, and like I'm there, and I'm like, Stephen Mullen's there, studio audience. I'm like, I need to do this. So like a couple of weeks later, I applied for Survivor and went through like 5 months of application. And then, the rest is kind of history. But sorry, I waffled on. But me away from like content and stuff, just a bit of my head's I'm always thinking of something, always trying to like be creative in different ways. So always has been since I was about 3 years old.
And you've heard about Andy's Man Club and the message pushing. What's your experience, I guess, with mental health, or not even personally, you know, what's your experience with that? So I imagine it must have took a bit of a toll at times with the highs and lows of doing this as a career, what you're doing now. Yeah,
definitely. I think growing up, I've always been quite in touch with my emotions, more so than like a lot of my friends. And I think I'm always trying to like, I'm quite deep, maybe even, I don't know if you can be, but like sometimes too deep. I can jump right in, be deep, maybe at the wrong times. I love a deep chat. I always have. But like growing up, I actually, the first experience of like, seeing somebody's mental health go quite bad is my football coach. Like he killed himself when we were like, I think I was maybe like 12, 13, and that was crazy to see. Like as like a young lad, and like going to a funeral like that, when it hasn't just been someone like of old age in your family, and I didn't really know what was going on. Like I was close with my football coach and seeing like the effect on his family and the rest of the players on the team. The other coach was difficult to look back on. Like it was difficult for the people around me, and I was young, so it maybe didn't hit me the same. But looking back now with my knowledge of everything, it's insane that happened and that his family had to go through that. And he was going through something that I didn't realise as a player on the team, which, it's mad. You think that you'd maybe be able to notice something when you're there around that person, but no, you don't realise what people are going through. But with like mental health and stuff, Andy's Man Club, I go to the Huddersfield Town football games, and that's my first knowledge of Andy's Man Club. It was like on the billboards and stuff. So that was like good to see, and the wristbands and the leaflets and stuff were getting handed out. So I knew about that before it actually come to my town, which is Workington. And my friend's dad, Steve Brown, I want to shout him out. He brought it to Workington, and he's so passionate, and like yourself, so like you said, like you're a volunteer, so selfless, and will give anything for that club. And what it's brought to the town, I feel like most people in the town will probably say they know someone who goes, or knows someone of someone who goes to the club. So I think it's fantastic for especially a town like mine where people do need to talk more.
Yeah, because you're from a northern town, you know, Cumbria's, it's tough, it's rugged, it's rugby league, it's hard working class men.
Absolutely.
And I imagine, just from hearing you a minute ago, probably an acceptance point of view must be hard for the type of job you do around that. Do you know, like initially when you first go back into social media, when people are out grafting and doing them hard jobs. But what's the mentality like up there? Is this been a shift in terms of mental health, or is it still get on with it, lad, man up? Or
I've definitely seen a shift over the past few years in the sense of it's okay to chat. People like I even asked my friends, like we were watching the football, me and my friend, he lives in Newcastle, I went down to see him, and he isn't the type of person that you'd maybe spring that chat with. But I think that him not being the type of person I'd usually chat about that with is probably the perfect type of person to ask. I asked him how he's doing and how is his mental health while we were watching the football, and the reaction of him was like, what you asked, like. And then when he looked over and I wasn't like smiling and laughing, that's when we had a little chat. Everything was fine from both of us. He asked me back as well, which I think was nice. And yeah, I just think there's this age now, social media has so many negatives and positives for mental health, because one, people are probably on the phone quite a lot and not getting out as much, which I like to try and advocate this like adventurous lifestyle.
Yep.
It's good for your mental health. But then also, I think the message is getting spread. We've got more resources to spread messages now, and yeah, it's like you said, rough, rugged, but like there's real people there, and everyone. And like you said about me doing social media and that, you can't kid anyone in working it. What you see is what you get with people, and yeah, I do think people are more open now, and hopefully it can just keep going and going and going.
I absolutely love that, and I think what I get from you is a proper zest for life and energy for life.
Yeah.
And all Andy's Man Club's trying to do is convince people to try and stick around and let that storm pass. Where does that zest for life and energy come from for adventure? Because I love adventure, and I'm connecting with you straight away, and that energy for life. And so I always say it's ironic that I run a suicide prevention charity, although not technically ironic, because I just think that I've got his love for life, and I want to try pass that to people. Love adventure. I've got a camper van, I travel around in that. So, and I know my wife are doing that, but like, what's your why for the adventure and the travel?
I feel like growing up, I had such a fear of, like, it's quite morbid, death and stuff. And like, I'm such a overthinker in every sense, like, to the point where there's no answers, obviously, to like, why are we here? What happens when you die? And look, now I'm getting older, I'm actually getting I'm getting better at, in my head, navigating that I'm here now, and life for me only exists when I'm alive. And I was always thinking, God, like thousands of years when I'm dead. And I would spiral myself out of control. Even as young as like 11 years old, I'd be in a classroom and I remember having like, what probably, I haven't really spoken about this, but like looking back would be like a mini panic attack in a classroom. But as a kid, you don't realise what that is. But it was me just overthinking. And like, I remember when I first found out that like, you die. My granddad told me in a car, he's from Huddersfield, and he told me we were in a car, we come up to Cumbria, and I did not get it. I could not understand what was going on and what he meant, because I'd only ever seen people die prior to that on like Coronation Street and like shows like that. So, which I think them shows are really good for kind of showing like scenarios of life, and like growing up watching that, you see everything. You see people die by being murdered, you see people die of illnesses, you see everything, don't you? So yeah, so I found out all that, and then kind of growing up, I'm always like, if someone's not passionate about something, I'm that guy who's like, we live on a floating rock, we need to do it. And I think that brings my kind of zest for adventure, because I want to do so much, and I sometimes overwhelm myself with, oh well, and then I'm going to be, in 5 years time, I'm going to be this age and I can't get that done. But I think I've wiped all that out now, because I've seen it myself. There's no timeline to achieving things. Like I talk to the kids in the schools, and they're like telling me that they're like inspired by like my content and the adventures or whatever they like from me. And that's really good. But then I was playing paddle tennis the other week, and it was this like tournament with loads of random people, and this guy comes up to me and we shake hands. I introduce myself and he's like, oh, I watch your content, mate. And he's like, I would do all this if I didn't have like a wife and kids and stuff. I'd be doing all the travelling and adventure stuff as well. And that hit me just as much as the kids, because I'm like, you can still do stuff, just because you've got different commitments and different, like a kid can't go travelling the world by himself because he can't go by himself, but everyone has different barriers that they can overcome. But you can still do stuff. I don't like the idea of people being written off. Like my granddad is 84 and is fit as a fiddle. He's in the gym. He's always looked after himself. And that's a prime example of like, yeah, some people maybe would look at him and think, oh, he's 84. Like he's had most of his life. But a fit 84-year-old is healthier than a terminally ill 18-year-old. Like I'd rather be the fit 84-year-old. So I think it's just all about perspective, and you have to believe in yourself to want to do this. So I've always got this belief of adventure and content and making, and I want to share it with people, and I like doing it, but I'm trying to be more present in the moment as well, because there's making videos and then there's also experiencing things. And I've struggled with travel a bit, because although I am enjoying the experiences, I'm also
documenting it.
Yeah, documenting it. So if a holiday, like I've went on like a family holiday the other month, and I'm like seeing something in like the sea or something, or like I said, jet ski, and I'm like, I should be doing a video, I should be videoing this, should I be doing this? And it's about, again, what we were saying, like switching off and knowing when to. But yeah, the adventure stuff, I love it. I was always falling out of trees.
I can see it just lights you up. When you go into schools, obviously, I've done a lot in schools, and obviously coming from a different angle. But what's your message to kids there? What's your purpose there? Why do you go into schools? What's the goal?
I want to go into schools because I want to go in as the guest that I wish I could have had watched when I was in school.
Yep.
Because, like, I want to tell the kids, and it's so cliche, but you can do whatever you want to do. Because when I was in school, the subjects, I was always that kid, and I know everyone seems to be that kid who, I wasn't bad, but I was just distracting people, and I was chatty. I was never doing anything wrong, but I was always in trouble for like probably talking and stuff.
Yeah.
But the only subject that really kind of gripped me was drama, and PE and stuff I loved, but like drama and stuff like that. And I think there wasn't enough creative avenues for me. It kind of puts you down. It puts you down like one lane and says you need to do this, you need to do that. And I definitely think with the way the world's going, with like social media and stuff, there needs to be more avenues for kids to express themselves, because I'm going into the schools and the kids are so interested in like what I'm doing and the TV stuff, and like being from Workington, there isn't like much of a TV scene up there. So like coming down to London, and some of these kids in like these like little towns in the north, they'll never come to London. They'll never see what's out there. And it took me moving out of my hometown to see that in Manchester.
It's a big leap, in it.
Yeah, and you can get yourself into rooms, and I think if you've got like a bit of passion and stuff, you can talk your way into rooms.
Yeah, people feel that, don't they?
And I think I kind of like manifested this life for myself. I've got like a pretty mad story, to be fair. I was at uni, and I'd always watched this travel YouTuber called Simon Wilson. He goes and he does the maddest things, and he was doing like no money challenges. And I actually based probably a lot of my content off the stuff I used to watch as a kid. I feel like a lot of people will do that with what they do.
Everyone does that, yeah.
Because you take bits from different people. And so I was watching him, and I was like I was young, I was sending messages on Instagram like, hey, please reply, like trying to speak to him. And one day I was just sat in my accommodation with my friends, and I said to them, PSG were playing Man City at the Etihad, and the PSG team were staying at like a hotel in Manchester, and I'd found out which hotel it was, and I said to my mate in my uni house, I'm going to go buy a suit, I'm going to try and get myself in with the PSG teams. And they were like, what are you doing? So I went into town, I went to Primark, kept the tags on, I had no money at the time. I thought, right, I'm going to take it back, the suit, after I've used it. And I went in, and I just walked through the door, a bit of confidence, and I thought this is something that Simon Wilson, the YouTuber, would have done years ago. So you like would sneak into places and that. So I thought, right, I'll sneak in, bit of confidence. And then I got stopped at the door, and I said that this is so bad looking back. I said that I think I said I'm something to do with like an international like service person for Manchester City. I work for like the board or something. And I did not look like I worked for Manchester City. And they let me in, and I'm sat in there. And next minute, without a word of a lie, I'm sat there. In walks Simon Wilson, the YouTuber, that I'm inspired by, pretty much doing this. I see him, and he gets in the lift and goes up to his room in this hotel. And I'm there texting him on Instagram. I'm like, please come down. You can't write what's happening to me right now. And he ended up coming down, and I'm like, call him over. He sits with me, and I'm like, I'm not meant to be here, but I'm inspired by you. I'm doing something you do. Here's my message. I showed him, and he was like, you've been watching me since the start. This is mad. He went, right, you're with me now, because he was staying in the hotel. So he takes me under his wing, and like in walks Messi. Who else was playing for PSG at the time? Mbappe. Yeah, like Sergio Ramos was there. Like, so all these PSG players walking in. I'm like from me to you away from Messi, and I've got all these pictures and stuff. And I'm with Simon Wilson, and Simon met his friend, and they come into the hotel, and Rebecca Adlington, the swimmer, was there. It was like quite a posh hotel. And Simon was like, I can't believe you're doing this. Come back to mine for dinner tonight. So me, him and his friend, we got in his car, and I felt like I was just a student at the time, and I thought, I've made this happen for myself. And we went back to his like apartment in Manchester, and he ordered food. He ordered like this proper posh sushi, and he was like, "What sushi do you like?" And I like sushi, but I've only ever had it from like Tesco.
Yeah.
So I was just like, whatever you are getting, and we played FIFA. It was unreal. And then we kept in touch, and then I think like 2 years later, I ended up getting on Survivor. He like gets back in contact and stuff, and then he watched Survivor with his family, and then it's just like that full kind of circle moment to where he's sitting watching me win Survivor after I was like idolising him growing up, and now I'm doing content because he kind of paved the way for that. Yeah. And I know that's a bit of a crazy story to keep up with.
No, it's class.
It's mad. And I think I made that for myself, and I went home. He dropped me back at my house in this big car that he had, and I went in, I told my housemates, and they were like, "That's mental. What is going on here?"
So, following on from that, what's your favourite video you've ever made?
Ooh. My favourite video that I've ever made is when I am like in a foreign country and there's nothing really around me, and I'm just kind of going with the flow. So recently I've just spent the night in a cave with like the Bedouin community. So they live in like the caves in the desert in Jordan. And it's just a mad video. It's like, it's me in this cave, nothing else around me. And it's like, you can't predict what's going to happen next. And I think that's proper adventure, that, and stuff can go wrong. Or in fact, the best video that I've ever made, my favourite video, is when I was in the Romanian mountains and I was hiking, we seen brown bears. I was there, that out-trumps any video I've made, I forgot about that. I was there and I met this guy, and I was like, "Do you know anyone that can take me into the mountains to see brown bears? I have this fascination about bears." And he was like, "Yeah, my friend will take you in." So he was like, "Be in this place at this time tomorrow and he'll pick you up." So this guy comes in this like, it's a bit of like a rickety car kind of thing. And I was a bit sceptical, to be fair. And he asked for €50 cash. And I was like, right, okay, I'll give you €50. And he just takes me into the mountains. And I'm thinking, imagine I never come back from these mountains. Who knows what could happen? So I'm ringing my mum and dad, and I'm telling them, we're going into the mountains. We're going to see brown bears. They're saying, "What are you doing?" And then this guy in broken English kind of says to me, "If we see bear, do not move." And he pulled out this bear spray, and he had a bear spray, a knife, which I didn't show on the video, and some like firecracker, like banger type things. And we start hiking, and like you're seeing bear prints, bear poo, you're seeing everything. And we're walking, and then all of a sudden, 20 metres away is like a mother bear with her cubs. And I'm thinking, all it takes is for one cub, and we're just there. All it takes is for one cub to like run towards us, and the mother thinks we're done, aren't we? Which is stupid. I would never do that again, but that's the best video I've made. Like,
mate, I love
I was so happy after that. I was like, my life is complete.
Mate, the zest for life and energy you've got is completely infectious.
It's mad.
Got a big smile on my face, just all these adventures. And I hope, big thing I hope anyone takes away from you today, which I'm sure they will, is about the daring to go on an adventure. And it might not be to go see brown bears, but I think you said something about the dad with the kids, and I think adventures everywhere, adventures at your local park, adventures at your going to Blackpool, adventure is anywhere. And I hope that people one dare to dream about what's possible and manifesting a life that they truly want, but also having that ability to see adventure in each and every day. And you said it, and you walked in here and your energy was, you're like, I've done podcasts online, and you sat down, and honestly, mate, it's unreal to see that infectious mentality. And I don't think the world has enough of it anymore. I don't think it probably ever did. I think we've got a big problem at times of often talking negatively, and I just love your ability to see the good. And it's like, in the best possible way, a newborn baby.
No, that's the vibe that people say that.
Who is just looking and going, "Oh my God, water, cups, balls, wow." And I'm like that, and I just think, and I need to focus more on it. So, we spoke right at the beginning about switching off, but I think when you've got such a view on the world, and I think that's what people need to tune into more. And how can they do that? They can look at what they're grateful for. They can look at the good in life. They can start to, because your brain will always find what you ask it to look for.
You're right.
What we always do is we get guests previous to ask the next guest some questions, right? And we do it in an Andy's Man Club way. So Andy's Man Club always has the same sort of questions, first three, which we've done.
Yeah.
But the question 4 that he's come up with is, If you could make one change in the world, what would it be and why?
Wow.
Deep shit.
That is deep. If I could make one change in the world,
what would it be and why would you make that change?
I think it would be that there was a bit more equality in the world. And that doesn't just mean like money. It means like I haven't experienced too much loss in my life. I've lost 2 grandparents, which was a horrible time. But I see people who like both parents have passed away and they're like the same age as me, and I couldn't physically imagine how some people deal with this, and never mind stuff that's happening in the world as well in our country and other countries, and I see children suffering, and I just think that I don't see it as like I feel lucky to be where I am, but I also think, why am I and why do I have like a good home and a good family, and what have I done to deserve this in the nicest way possible? Yep. I just think it's everyone gets dealt certain cards, and sometimes life is unfair, and that makes me sad on a daily basis, seeing people like tragic things happening to normal people. And sometimes I know everyone will have to go through these horrible things in their life, but you see some people and they're not getting a break, and that's why I can really understand why some people are in, like, I can't believe this. I see what some people are going through. Just say they lose people to like a tragedy, like an accident in a car or something, anything like that, and I don't know how they're still going themselves. Yep. And I take my hat off to them, because I don't know how I would cope with stuff like that.
I think a great way to look at it is that if you want to experience love, you're going to have to experience hate, otherwise you don't know what it was.
Right.
If you're going to want to experience happiness, you're going to have to be sad. If you want to experience peace, you're going to have to go through stress. If you're going to experience joy, you're going to have to go through depression. And I feel like without a scale of both, you wouldn't know what one is. So without suffering, without having that, you're never going to know what something good is. So I think that, like, whatever the grand plan was for us as human beings on this world, without getting religious or without getting spiritual, is that my belief is that we have to have both. But suffering ultimately comes from his attachment to it never being bad, to it always being good, because it's never. And unfortunately, everything you just mentioned that you haven't yet been through, you are going to go through.
Yeah.
As am I. Mm-hmm. And what you've got to do is, we've had a series of guests on over the last few weeks who child exploitation from gangs, to losing little brother to suicide at 15, to Jordan, who has been at a young age, Barry's mum, who got dementia, and he's now got that gene, and he's going to get dementia and knows he's going to die the same way his mum did. And what you see when people go through near-death experiences or death experiences, the human spirit really come to the forefront. And what I think is beautiful in the world we're living, with videos and different stuff, and this podcast, is you can listen to other people and go, how did they deal with it? So when life does come and smack you in the face, you're able to deal with it as well.
Wow.
We're going to go on a bit of a lighter note.
Yeah, brilliant.
Quick fire, funny question. What's the most embarrassing thing you've ever done?
The most embarrassing thing I've ever done? It's probably from when I was younger, to be fair. We were on the London Eye, me and my family, and I like jumped on this like guy's back, obviously thinking it was my dad. And then I just remember, and the fact it stuck with me till now, like, and I'm like hugging him from behind, or like grabbing him, and it wasn't my dad, and he's just some random guy. And there's probably been a lot more embarrassing things happening along the years, but that's something that really has. Do you know, just the pure, I was in a shell as a kid in that moment.
So Matthew, the time is now to spin the table, and you have got question 4 and 5 to ask our next guest. So question 4, something for them to reflect on and why, and question 5, it can be just something fun. What would you like to ask the next guest?
Question 4, I would like to ask them, what is something away from work that you do that makes you happy?
And why?
So,
I love that.
And why? Like, for instance, me, I've recently been playing like a lot of paddle over the last year, and I didn't realise how much I needed paddle until I started playing paddle, for the sense of like my friendship group and my social life has just expanded.
Yep.
And I would recommend anyone who feels like they don't have that kind of sense of community, or the need to get out there and just really let off some steam, paddle's perfect. Love any that. Ability, any age, any level, and you can make some new friends, which I think is fantastic.
And what about a quick fire question 5 bit of fun?
What do you prefer, Indian or Chinese? And
Deep.
What is your order, please?
Deep. I'm going to answer that for you because I don't get to answer these.
Please, I love that.
So mine would be Indian.
I got that from you. I get that vibe.
Indian guy. And it would be, I'm on a big health kick at the minute. I'm really, got London Marathon in 8 weeks, or 11 weeks, and I've been injured, so I need to cut down the Indians. But if I was going to have an Indian, it would be, Mrs. always orders, so it'd be chicken sheesh starter.
Nice.
And loads of poppadoms, lots of
Love
poppadoms.
poppadoms as well.
Lots of poppadoms. And then it's going to be chicken jalfrezi, bit of pilau rice, maybe a couple handful of chips.
I'm a chicken tikka jalfrezi man myself.
We're aligned.
And poppadoms, mate, that's a good order. I eat poppadoms everywhere, mate, even on the train, like, you know, just from a shop, not from an Indian, but like I just buy them from the shop, Tesco.
I love it.
And eat them. Yeah, but no, that's a good order. I rate that.
And if you could give one final message to anyone watching about anything you want, what would it be?
I'll just say, don't live with any regrets. Just look at yourself right now and what you're doing in your work life, your social life, and if you don't feel like you're fulfilled by that environment or the people that you're with or what you're doing, then take a step away and focus on yourself and try and do something that you love, because life's too short. And yeah. I seen a quote. Sorry, I'm so not a quickfire guy. I seen Jessie J was on the podcast, and it stuck with me so hard. She said, "If you're at a table and you don't feel like you're getting fed, even though somebody's giving you food, then just take a step away, because you're not meant to be there."
Love it.
You need to be fulfilled in what you're doing. Yep. Life's too short.
100%. And about the regret bit, I heard a great quote by Denzel Washington. I quoted someone else, and it was about when you get to end of your life, imagine you are laid there and all the ghosts of all the dreams and ideas and goals you had come to visit you just before you're about to go. So I think when it's time to go with no ghosts, have no regrets, and back yourself, believe. And if you take anything away from Matthew today, have a zest for life, have a zest for adventure, and walk in every room as if you're meant to be there. Because the other thing of Jessie J is, if you are sat at the table, this is another one for people with imposter syndrome, you deserve to be there.
You're right. You actually do.
Matthew, you've been a phenomenal guest.
Thank you for having me. Honestly, it's been an honour to be here.
And for those of you who have just tuned in for the first time, this is episode 4. Phenomenal guest in Matthew, and we will be back next week.